I'm going to show you how to create some studies. Now, the first thing I'm going to show you is how to steal someone else's studies. And Doooovid is happy for me to do this. So first of all, how do you steal someone else's studies? This is a funny one. So what you do is you take this study and you go share, clone. Hopefully you can see everything there, and you go clone the study. And I'm going to rename this study to ZH League Season 7 Highlights. Now, as I said, I've got permission from Doooovid to play around with his stuff. Crazyhouse League Season 7 Highlights. In fact, I'm doing this to help Doooovid and others create studies in future. Now, do I want to invite only or public? I'll go for public. Do I want to allow cloning myself? I could be mean and say, no, I don't want other people to clone this study. I want everyone to have computer analysis or opening Explorer or chat. And do I want to enable sync? I'll let people browse freely, or should I let them sync? No, I'll let them sync. So that means while I'm playing around with the study, they can actually see. That's annoying if several people are playing around at the same time. But okay, so I've done this. And now the clone study says this is cloned from this, but actually I'm going to put a lot of chapters here. So what I'm going to do instead of putting that there is I'm going to put that in the comments to that first chapter. So that's where it's from. So what I do is I click on chat and I add the link, and that's given the link. Unfortunately, it hasn't given the link in a clickable form, so I've got to go HTTP. That, and hopefully, yeah, now you can click this. You can now click it and you go to Doooovid study. Okay, so that's the, and then the final thing is, suppose I don't want it to link back to in the chat to Doooovid study. What I would do is I go to clear chat, and it will clear the chat, so it hides the evidence that I stole from him. Now, let's see. That sounds so mean, but we knew what. Okay, so that was the one I got. The Bay Area against Doooovid, one chapter, and that's not it. So this is a second study which Doooovid created. Now I've already got a study here, so how do I add this study which Doooovid's created into this one? Okay, so the way I do it is you again do this, but instead of saying clone, because that would create a new study, you go study PGN. Click on this, and that will download a text file with the PGN of the study, a very tiny little file. So that's opened up the PGN of the study here. I select all and copy it. I then go into my season blah blah study, add a new chapter, click on PGN, and paste in the PGN of that study, create that chapter, and unfortunately it doesn't name it properly. So that's annoying. This was the Bay Area against Doooovid. I have to unfortunately rename it, and it will also lose any arrows he might have drawn. So this is just an unfortunate fact of life. So Doooovid, let's have orientation black from his point of view and save the chapter. Okay, and just for completeness sake, let's give a link to his study at the beginning of this one as well. So we're being very proper about everything, and we put a link to this study. So now we now have a version of his study which we can ourselves edit, in fact. And we saw in the last stream, actually, Doooovid's first study, so just having a quick look at his second study. The Bay Area as white played h3. Again, he says that's overcautious. So I'm just going to quickly play through this study, seeing what he says. Queen d8, c3, bishop at e6. He said, I saw I had equalized and wanted to be extra safe, although the double bishops can also be good for attacking. Yes, so he's thinking of taking on h3 in the future. Very nice. Castles here, drops back, exchanges here, knight at f4, hitting g2, rook h2. Oh, that looks wrong, but okay. Knight e7, was very happy with my position here, but did not see a clear path forward, so figured just work my pieces to the king side. Very good plan. Always keep your pieces in Crazyhouse near your king. So very well played by him. Bishop takes e6, bishop takes e6, bishop takes e6, f takes e6. Now what's great about this is he's castled, he has an open rook file, only slight weakness in his position is g6, but that's really nicely covered by both knights, so it actually looks fairly safe. F takes e6. Now he said he completely missed that he could have gone knight takes d3 check first, and then takes the bishop. Because, like, is the king really going to step up and go chasing? You could then just step back and then take the bishop. So yeah, very, very good point. Okay, instead, knight f1, defending d3, bishop h5. Yeah, and then you notice later you could even put the bishop here or here, picking up this pawn. Putting the bishop on the second rank was a lot stronger. Bishop at g4, takes, knight takes pawn. Okay, so he sacks this, and again, bishop at b2 is better instead of knight g6. So he's trying to take here or else exchange the rook for the bishop. Maybe, yeah, this square is weak in future. Goes knight g6, very kind of slow move. Bishop at c1, rook takes f3. He thought over a minute on this, was clearly the right move, and the reason it's the right move is, of course, this. Oh, so not that. Not yet. I mean, that was the first thought I had. But no, knight h4 is even stronger. Knight at c2 is also knight here. Cool. So this is actually even stronger, so very nicely played. Queen goes back to d1. He takes here, so he's winning a clean piece. Bishop takes h6. Knight at f3. That king is... Bishop takes f1 with check. Oof, he's picking up the queen as well. So if bishop takes, bishop, queen takes. He missed a mate, but hard to see after bishop at d2. Oh, so bishop at d2 is a hard to see mate, apparently. The idea being that if queen takes d2, there's... Oh my goodness, what? I don't get that one. Are you sure? Knight d to f5, that is hard to see. And the point is, if the king drops back at f3 as mate, oh, that is strong. That is amazing. And if you take the knight, then pawn here, oh, just pawn's mate. Okay, that is hard to see. That is really hard to see. And if king takes, you take the queen with check, and then that is quite easy to see. Oh, that is hard to see. That's a very nice mate. But instead he did bishop at g5, f4, e takes f4. Now he knew he was going to have a chance to attack, so figured it's better not trade and keep the bishop on g5 for defense. King f2, he takes the queen. He lets him attack him a bit, just hopes he runs out of material. And indeed, white resigns it. Okay, so that was interesting having a quick look through his study. And let's get back to teaching you how to make studies. Okay, so we go back to the pairings. So where are the pairings? You go to season 7 and you click on pairings, and you get all the pairings from the Crazyhouse League. Actually, let's not do that just yet. Let us... So what I was going to do is... Okay, let's do one of these things. So let's just show you how to add a single game to the study. So let's think of a very exciting game. The game, for example, between Samuel Haupt and Darkness. Let's hope I got the right one. This is a quite intense game where it went all over the place. I think this is the game I meant. Yeah, this was an insane game. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple of things. So the first thing is how to put... we're in this game on lichess. How to put it on the study. Okay, so I'm going to just copy the game link also just to be... Okay, so one way of doing it is you click the hamburger button, you click the study button, and it'll give you a list of all your studies and all the studies you contribute to. So I'm going to click on ZH League Season 7 Highlights, and it suddenly added it to the study. That's very nice. And Darknesses as white beat Sam as black in this game, and that was a fabulous game. We should definitely annotate it for this study at some point. Now, just to choose one more, of these games, just to illustrate how you do this, let's go back to... How do I go back? Okay, I'm going to have to go again. Go out to the pairings. I'm going to choose one more game. I'm going to look at the game between Adande and Darubaru, where Darubaru was white and actually won this game to actually tie the match for his team. So that was quite a fabulous game. And I want to show you something else you could do. Now, I already showed you can go click this bar and then click study. There's another way, and that's that's the best way of putting games into a study. You just click the hamburger button, study, and then choose the study. There is another way, however, which is after you've analyzed the game, you can then click on Fen and PGN. The Fen, just to introduce you to the Fen is a way of encoding any position in Crazyhouse. So let's say this position here was very interesting. This position here, white to play, was a wonderful way. White had a mate here. So let's just explain. It goes 1, bishop, queen, and there's a little squiggle after the queen just to indicate that's not a real queen. So the first few letters before the dash actually encode the first line of the board. And then there's a slash and then the second line. So the 5 indicates 5 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there are 8 of these things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, where capital letters for capital R indicates a white rook, and small letters like small b indicates a black bishop. And then at the end of the 7, there's a bit more stuff, which like this. Oh. So the capital P indicates white has a pawn in hand, and the little PPQQNNN indicates black has got 2 pawns, 2 queens, and 3 knights in hand. And W indicates white to move. King, Queen, that's just indicating castling rights, and you don't need to know too much about it. So I'm going to show you a few things. Firstly, you can copy that Fen, go into the season highlights. This was a crucial game. And I'm going to call this Darubaru mates Adande 1. That's the name. Now, what do we put? Is it empty or editor? Oh, no, you can actually use the editor and actually set up a position. URL, this is another way of actually loading a game. You just put the URL of the game. But I find it easier just to go to the game and do 2 clicks, like I did earlier. There's the PGN, which I showed you earlier, where I copy and pasted the PGN from Doooovid's second study and pasted it in. And there's Fen, and Fen is what we want here. We're going to paste it in, make sure it says Crazyhouse. Orientation white, we want white because Darubaru is white, deliver the mate, and create the chapter. Now, this was an exciting game in which Darubaru found the mate. Very nice. Now, how did the mate go? We can actually we could make it a practice with computer study, for example, or a normal study, just to show you practice with computer. Practice with the computer, you need the engine on because the computer will play the black side. So you go rook takes rook, and it tells you mate in 3 now. Queen here, king goes here. What I didn't notice, embarrassingly, in the game was that if king here, rook at here is checkmate because the bishop is pinned. And now this is mate in 2, however. What was played in the game was rook takes bishop. It's not bad, rook takes bishop, rook here, and, well, okay, so actually in the game the king went here. So I'm going to delete that from there. I want to move the king there, but I can't change it because I'm practicing against the computer, so I have to unclick that little button there to be able to change it. And then step back and step forward and then move the king. And then queen takes bishop was checkmate. So that's how the game actually happened. And I can take a link to the game, get back into the study, and in the comments just add the link now so that someone can actually go and look at the game. But there was actually a slightly faster mate in this position, a mate in 2. So can I find it? And again, I don't want it to reveal, so I click on this button, so I'm practicing against the computer. Can anyone in chat see mate in 2? Let's see. I'm thinking this. oh, I can't do this because that's pinned. That was my mistake in the game, but this will do. Pawn here and rook here, checkmate. Okay, brilliant, very happy. So at c4, I'll say is even quicker. So great, and and then just to say, what about these buttons? So sync means that anyone else watching your board can see what you're moving, and in order to work for sync to you need enable sync to be turned on. Recording. What does recording mean? I'm going to turn this computer analysis off. I'm going to make it just a normal analysis position. You can do other things as well, but we're going to have just a normal analysis position. But actually, this feature is actually quite useful. You could be, for example, training an opening, and you want to practice the opening against computer. You just click this when you want to, and you can start training that opening from a given position against the computer. If you don't like that's the sequence of moves, you can delete it later. Okay, what does record mean? So sometimes lots of people are working on a study at once, so you don't want your moves to show up on their board. So you could unsync, but you still want the moves you're inputting to be inserted in the study, so you keep record on. If you're just playing around and you don't want to sync or record, you can turn them both off. Or if you're really just fooling around with someone but you don't want to record it, for example, you could, have a Crazyhouse 960 position. Suppose you didn't want the game to be saved later, you just wanted to play it. I'd say keep it, but if you didn't want to, you turn record off, but just sync. And then whenever you played a move, it would show up on your opponent's board, but it wouldn't ever come back. If ever people saw the position later, it would be back in the original position with no moves played. But it's quite nice to have record on, because then you can look back at what you did. So what's actually often useful is turning sync off, so you can do stuff without interfering with other people who might be using your study. Because if sync is on, everyone who's watching your study is going to be in the same position as you are in, or as one of the members of the study is in. About this, you can also add members to a study, so you can just search by username. So for example, I'm going to add the Sarouan student to my study. If sometimes it's quite strange, but sometimes there isn't this button at yes, this was a problem in the past. Before, this search box was at the bottom and you needed to somehow contract your screen in order to be able to see it. Thankfully they've changed that now to make it a bit better. And if I want Sarah and student to actually be a member who can contribute to the study, I click on the little settings button and put contributor on. Okay. Okay, so this was a nice mate that Doooovid found against a Dande. There was one other thing I wanted to show you, which is, suppose I want this whole game, but I want all the analysis, all the computer analysis in my study. Now usually I don't like that because I feel it distracts me from adding human analysis. I would say, however, if I know I don't have time to add human analysis, it's better to have the computer analysis than no analysis. But if you can add analysis yourself, it's obviously so much better than if you have this computer analysis, which will say annoying things like inaccuracy when it's not really that big a deal and so on. But just as I want to show you how to do it, you click on Fen and PGN. Now I've already shown you how to use the Fen, you copy that and paste. Now I want to show you how to use the PGN. Now notice in the PGN, it has all this analysis actually in the PGN. So there's a way of getting that into your study. You press copy, edit copy, or using your keypad, edit copy, and then you go into your study and you go add a new chapter. This is Doooovid against Dande 1, but we don't need to title it. I think that it'll be smart enough to do it itself. So although it's called chapter 5, you just go into PGN, paste it into the PGN, variant is automatic, that's fine, create chapter, and is it smart? Yep, it automatically changes the chapter title to Doooovid Dande, and notice it's got all the annotations. Now these annotations, to be frank, are kind of annoying. Stuff like knight c6 was a mistake against e3. It's not even complaining about e3, it's complaining about knight c6. So how to get rid of it? You press the little delete button here. It says, are you sure you want to delete the comment? You say, OK. I don't want this line, so what do? I say delete from here. Careful you don't delete the main line. And so on. I don't want this comment, so you might want to delete it. And I don't want this line, so I delete from here. E4 is a terrible blunder. Okay, now I'm going to keep that, because I agree that was a bit of a blunder. I don't like the comment, though. I agree it was a blunder, so I'm going to keep the blunder notation. So you can see the blunders notation is here. I really hate all the lichess, and I hate the annotations of it was a blunder. I mean, I like the line of what he should have done instead. Like an alternative, knight f3, e6. I quite like this as this is how the game might have continued, although it's a crazy line, but it goes too far in a way. Castles. I mean, why is he moving the knight out and then moving it back again, and then moving it back again? It's like, really? So, but I'd say at this point it stops making sense, to be honest, and I'm just gonna curtail the line from this point. I go delete from here, just shut off the rest of the line. I mean, I don't see why not just castles at this point, but okay. So that just gives you a taste. I really don't like computer annotations, but I guess it is useful sometimes. You can just quickly flip. One advantage of it is you can quickly flip through and see any missed mates. So here we saw mate is now unavoidable, and then at b6 check we see he actually lost the forced checkmate. Now this is actually very interesting. This is actually the crucial point in the game. The reason why at b6 was a mistake in this game is because after so rook takes a5 was apparently mating, so just showing the line. Then bishop there check, then rook here check, queen takes, pawn here check, bishop here, and let's just finish off the line. E7 check, queen takes rook with check, takes the queen, and it's checkmate. Okay, so a kind of crazy long line. But after at b6, the reason it's a mistake is because black has got a brilliant move. And the brilliant move is king to a8. So I'm going to give that a brilliancy prize. King to a8. And white doesn't have rook a6, which he had in the other line. After something like bishop takes pawn, black has takes queen, takes bishop, and then king a7. And I'd say this is just very unclear. The computer keeps on going very deep into this line. Knight f3, bishop takes e3, b takes e3, queen here, takes. And it says white is actually winning. And then it's not sure. So what can I say? It's just unclear position. This line goes way too deep already, but I'll just say it's an unclear position. And I should say something about these annotations. Good move, mistake, brilliant move, a brilliancy, a blunder. They're all felt fairly self-explanatory. Interesting move means something which may not be the best move, but it certainly makes the position very dynamic. Dubious move, again, the same thing as, well, interesting move and dubious move, kind of, it's like it's positive, but maybe you're still better, but you're creating a dubious move, maybe you're losing some advantage. Only move, I've never used only move before. Zugzwang, equal position, unclear position. White is slightly better. So in Crazyhouse odds, unlike in normal chess, that would be like +1. In Crazyhouse, white is slightly better would be like +3, +4. Black is slightly better. White is better, and I'd say in Crazyhouse that means like +9, +10. It's better, but it's by no means forced win. And then white is winning, and that is like forced mate or +15 or +12. Black is winning. Novelty, if you're doing some opening studies. Development, initiative. Again, these are not annotations I really use much. Attack, counterplay, time trouble, with compensation, and with the idea. I don't really use these very much. But they're there for you. And what I like most is actually typing stuff in the text. That's useful. This I've never really understood what that little tag is for. Now you also have the option within studies of requesting a computer analysis. Again, I don't like it for the same reason I don't like this stuff here. You'll get all these annotations within the study. Having said that, if you want annotations, what I recommend is getting the annotations from the game and transferring them into the study. If you do annotations within a study by clicking on this, I find they're not really as reliable. they're a bit more buggy than if you just got it from a game like this and copy pasted it in. But you have an option if you want to request a computer analysis, and if you don't mind all these annotations. What's this? It's a quick survey, so you can see all the positions in the study. And that's a really important button, which I use quite a lot. If you want to clone a study, or copy the study PGN, or just copy a single chapter PGN. And these two, you might want to paste it into another study. Okay, so I think I've taught you quite a few things. And hopefully it's been of interest to you, how to... so what I'm going to do now is actually just going to see if there are any other puzzles which came up from these games I've already got. So let's see, was there a forced mate here? So this game it wasn't. There was a crazy forced mate here, which was quite beautiful. This amazing mate in 4. So I love this mate so much. I'm going to get the fen. How do I get the fen? So you have to scroll all the way to the bottom. Oh, this is the study URL if you want to share with someone. This is just the chapter URL, the specific chapter. And if you want to start a specific move, you click this checkbox. And you can copy that and share it with someone. The iframe, the embed, is if you want to put it inside a blog. And you can actually put a lichess study in a blog, so you can actually play with it inside a blog off lichess, which is very cool. But still, the functionality obviously is much better on lichess. And then right at the bottom, maybe it's off your screens, I'm not sure, or maybe you can just about see it, is the fen. And we just discussed earlier how the fen is understood. And on that subject, by the way, suppose you want to take a fen and, before we use that, suppose you want to take a fen and just edit it. I just want to show you how to do that. You go to Tools, Analysis Board. And suppose you're interested in, and go to Crazyhouse. Okay, so Crazyhouse, and you paste the fen in here. And suppose you're wondering, what if I didn't have 2 pawns in hand, I only had 1 pawn in hand? You're asking yourself, interesting. It took a while to see the bishop at d2 check. That's interesting. Suppose you only wanted black to have 1 pawn in hand. You can actually edit the fen. So use the arrow keys to get to the point you want. And I can delete one of those pawns in hand. I'm going to see, does black still have mate with only 1 pawn in hand? And let it think for a bit. Does bishop at so bishop at d2 check doesn't work anymore. But apparently there's still a mate with at f4. And the point is, if king d1 we're winning the queen, so this is very straightforward. We're just going to queen swinging in with checkmate. That's really straightforward. So he has to take it, but then we're going to take again. And the point is, he can't take here because otherwise bishop here is checkmate. The bishop covers the retreat and the knight covers the retreat to f3. So, and he can't go this way because, as we saw, if he goes this way, we win the queen with check. And then we got the queen swinging across. So king takes knight is the only move. And now we could actually bring the queen in. That's also nice. In fact, that looks a very efficient move. So if there's any block, we take it. He can't drop back here, so this is actually, so king c4 seems to be the only thing he can do. How do we keep him contained? So we're worried about the king running back. It's a very nice... Okay, suppose we just did d5. Still not seeing it. I'm not seeing mate here. So apparently d5 is mating and bishop at b3 is also mating. I can see if bishop b3, if you are foolish enough to take it, then he's going to be mated by pawns. Bishop at c6, king here, pawn here. That is clear. But he could take it with his king, and then it's not so obvious. Bishop at a4. That's quite pretty. So the point is, if he comes here, this is checkmate. So he has to go here, and then you take the queen with check. He blocks, and then you drop the queen there as checkmate. Okay, so that was some crazy line. So bishop at b3 is nice. Well, what about this? Much more obvious move. Takes, takes. If he ever takes here, we're just going to go bishop at e6, king to e4, and at d5 checkmate. So he's going to step back, and then we have this idea of bishop at a4. So this idea still comes. So this is very nice. He can block if he likes, but can block here, for example, but his problem is even just bishop here is checkmate. The bishop's covering off. So that's quite interesting. You can actually take a position and adjust it a little bit. Now I could, let's see, let's make this the main line. Now, usually you shouldn't do all this analysis in analysis board. You should do it within a study. Because if you do a whole lot of analysis in analysis board, I'll show you this, it's worth seeing. I don't want that to happen, I want this to happen. You basically lose it all, but let's hope we don't lose it. Queen here, pawn here, takes, bishop here, takes, and checkmate. Okay, what I've done is I've made it the main line, so cross fingers, I can now try and go take. Again, use the same trick. You press the hamburger button, press study, put it in, I don't want the Crazyhouse final, I want the ZH League Season 7 highlights, and it did work. It's found this whole line, very nice. But notice how it deleted all the variations, all the sub-variations, it only kept the main line. So it was very important. So that's why you should never really do analysis in analysis board. You should put it in a study because then all the sub-variations are stored. Now that was quite fun, seeing what would happen if he had a pawn less in hand. But that wasn't the real position. So how do I get back to the real position? Indeed, how do I do that? I have to go back to the game. So it's this game here. Go back to the Mr. Mate and go back to settings. You go to the fen and copy it, and I'm going to call it add a new chapter. Doooovid Mr. Mate versus the Bay Area. That's the title. Go to fen, put in the fen, orientation black, create chapter. So we're going to have the Mr. Mate here, and we're going to put in the line. So the point is, if queen takes, amazing move, knight here. Okay, if this, then two pawns mates. And because if here, then just a pawn here mates. Really amazing line. And if king takes, then you're losing the queen, then it's all very straightforward. Rook takes rook. Queen at c2, check. King here. And so wherever the king goes, the queen is going to here and it's checkmate. The hook mate. The knight and the queen in this position is called a hook mate. So bishop at d2, this is such a brilliant move, I'm going to call it a brilliancy. You click on the annotation, call it a brilliancy. Okay. Fabulous. So there's that. Now chapter 6, we saw this, I'm going to delete this, delete chapter, but maybe I want to record how that it could have been made without this, so I'll just put in the line without here, takes, king here, rook here, and bishop here, checkmate. So I'll just make a comment, black can in fact mate with one fewer pawn. Just a crazy comment, it was just something that happened to come up. Okay, so now we've got two mates. We have a game which we'd like to annotate in future, which we have the computer annotation for. We have another game which is completely bare of annotation, which we want to annotate. This is a fabulous game. I mean, I'll just play through it for you guys. So we've got no annotation, so this could probably take an hour of analysis and looking at all the variations. I haven't been able to do that at all. So for now, this looks like theory. Apparently at h6 is strong here, but he went bishop d3, d5, very interesting, and apparently it's theory. Knight takes g7, so black is doing well here, so Samuel Helpt is actually doing well as black. Bishop e2, the queens are exchanged, and apparently at f3 was strong here, but okay, this, this, takes. And my interest here is like, what's the critical point in this game? Takes. Yeah, okay. And suddenly white has a forced mate here. Amazing. With knight at h6. Knight at h6 is a forced mate. I wouldn't have expected that, but I guess the point is that is just lethal. You could take it. G takes, and a trade of queens is. I mean, there's so much pressure on g7. The problem is any counterattack is just covered. If queen takes g3, you don't even take back the queen. You just go straight back, winning the queen with check. Knight h5. King can't step backwards, gets mated. King has to step forward, but it's still getting mated. Okay, so what I do at this point is I write something like white to play and mate in the comments, and it turns out there are loads of mates in this position, so it doesn't make a very good puzzle, but it's interesting. So this is more something to look later. It turns out at h6 is not so strong, so at h6 is actually a blunder, amazingly. So knight h6 is good. I'm not saying it's a brilliancy, because there are lots of good moves. Queen g6, and the game continued. And this is an interesting. So black has now got a slight edge. I was actually watching this game, and I was thinking, isn't black winning this game? And my goodness, this is a critical move here. At a3 was strong. Knight takes bishop is strong, because the point of knight takes bishop is then the knight's coming here next, so it's very strong. But even stronger apparently is a3 first, king takes a3, and then knight takes bishop, with the knight coming here being a real big threat. Just to say, if you did something like this, you've got knight c4 check. If king b3, knight here is checkmate. So that's the kind of idea. King here. What next? Okay, so it's not so clear, but knight here check is an interesting idea. Takes. Eventually, white has to block here, but then there's apparently knight d to b6, pawn here, and bishop a3 is checkmate. Okay, so that's the kind of stuff that Darkness somehow managed to avoid when black played at g4. So that was a real blunder. So this game just went. I mean, and the time was kind of serious, under 1 minute for both players, which probably explained it. Bishop here, trying to attack and defend, I guess, because that knight is the most dangerous piece. Anyway, so this is a crazy game. It's going to take at least half an hour probably for me to analyze, but this was stunning. Even in this position, knight at a4 was winning for black. It's a good move, in fact, brilliant move. But what was played was knight takes bishop, and that was that was a losing blunder. And now it's amazing white to play and mate, and this is a brilliant puzzle. It's such a good puzzle. I want to make it a puzzle for the highlights at the end of the season. So knight at f8. The idea is if you step back to h8, you're losing the queen with check, and it's all over. Queen is landing on g7 with mate. So this is forced. Queen h4, another real brilliant move. I mean, this is just brilliant move after brilliant move. Knight f8, brilliant move. Queen at h4, brilliant move. And the point is, when you block it, there's pawn at g5. And I was thinking when I was watching this live, why can't we just step back? But then there's rook at g8 checkmate. And what happened in the game was queen takes g5 and rook at h7 checkmate. So, wow. That's just such a beautiful combination. Amazing combination. I really love that. So this position, how do I make a puzzle out of it? Okay, I'll show you. I click on the share button, I click right the way to the end to get the fan. I copy it, and I add a new chapter, and it's called, I have to spell this Darknesses guy, which is dark. It's various threes instead of e's, basically, is the trick. 23 mates Samuel Halt 3. I put in the fem. I want white's position. I'll create that chapter. Okay, so I've got that. Hi there, Chuck Moulton. Welcome. And I'm going to put in the line. Knight f8, queen here, pawn here. And let's do the line that happened in the game. Queen takes and rook here, checkmate. Amazing mate. Okay, so in this short stream, I've shown you 4 annotated games and 3 puzzles. Okay, and just to close the stream, I want to show you how to make practice against computer puzzles with these puzzles. So at the moment, my study is called. Let's click on information. I know the information. That's not what I want. How do I find out the name of my study? ZH League Season 7 Highlights. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on clone the study, and I'm going to rename the clone study 05 for reasons unknown. ZH League Season 7 puzzle practice with computer puzzles. Okay, now in this study I'm going to delete this. In this new study, make sure it's not the original study. This is the clone study. I'm going to delete certain chapters. The first 4 chapters are annotated games. I don't want the annotated games, I just want studies. So I just delete each chapter. Delete all these chapters, delete these chapters. And I'm left with 3 puzzles. I don't want it to say clone. Actually, yes, I do want it to say clone from here. So anyone who sees this can go back to here and see the solution to these studies. So I actually quite happy to have that there. Now, what I do here is I have to now delete the answers, delete from here all the answers, and replace the answers by practice with, and replace the analysis mode by practice with computer. So I have to do that with each one. Because there's more than one line, I have to delete both. And put that as practice with computer. And that's also practice with computer. And that's very nice. Okay, so I have to delete the line here. So now, this new study, I got the link here. People can now play with it against the computer, and they won't have the solution. They have to have the engine turned on, that's all. And they can practice their Crazyhouse against the computer. So that's how you create Crazyhouse studies on lichess. So I hope you've enjoyed. Let's see, is there anything, any last things I should say? Yeah, so I've been doing some analysis of the Crazyhouse final between JannLee and opperwezen. I'm up to chapter 29. This is the position I began the whole stream with. It's black to play. Black has a brilliant move in this position, and the brilliant move which opper missed was bishop at h2. And the idea is that if you take the bishop, you get to put your queen on with check, and then at g2. And the point of at g2 is what exactly? Why can't the rook just move? I'm being a little bit dim here. I thought that was the issue. Yes, queen d1. And why not just bishop takes queen? If bishop takes queen, rook takes bishop, rook takes rook. Oh, the bishop is what you need to mate. Okay, so that, yeah, I didn't see that. Okay, that's hard. And if you take with the rook, then obviously that's much clearer. Then the rook is going to be mating here. Knight takes, queen takes. So that's why the rook can't move. Can't move to here or here. And it can't move to here or here because it gets taken and there's the same mate. So what can white do? That's the best move he can do, but you still win the rook. But now you don't have protection on it. Yeah, now h1 is protected. So what now? Rook takes knight. So wow, this is not a simple mate. But apparently it's mate. So you take here, you take the knight, Now, of course, what's the threat of taking the knight? You're threatening rook here, check, bishop takes, queen takes, checkmate. Okay, that's the point. So he has to try and defend. Knight here, check, forces knight takes knight, knight, rook here, check. Just trying to remember, why is that good again? Forces bishop takes, but then you take this rook, and then you drop another rook here. Okay, and he can't step up. It's a back rank mate, so he has to take it. And the queen and rook are on a file, so it's quite a crazy mate. But so that's against knight to d3. Another attempt to defense. Yeah, we just saw rook fc1. Okay, so that's why the king cannot take that bishop. And in fact, the best move for white is just to sidestep. Is it? No. Sidestep also gets you mated, because then you just pick up this knight, and again, there's the threat of queen here, check, takes here, kind of ideas. If he takes back, queen here, check, pawn here, takes, rook here, and checkmate. Okay, so quite a beautiful move, quite hard to see bishop at h2, so I have it in the study. In future, I could, as I showed you, take this fen, turn it into a puzzle, and put it into a puzzle study. But for the moment, this is just all the raw games between Opperwezen and JannLee. You can, if you check out my studies, I think it's one of my studies. Some of my studies are under Sero and Student, which I showed you earlier. But yeah, so you've got all of the first 64 games between that Crazyhouse final match. Now that's worth noting. You can have up to 64 chapters in a study. You can also chat with people in the chat room next to the study. You could even talk with them on voice call, although I haven't tried that myself. Yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed this introduction. If you don't want to be distracted by chat, you can turn the chat off. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this little introduction to how to use studies on lichess for Crazyhouse. And I'll try and keep updated that little puzzle, that little study I showed you for Season 7 of the Crazyhouse League. The league is in week 1, at the end of week 1. It'll go on for 5 weeks until Christmas. If you're interested, check out the Crazyhouse calendar. And the easiest way to see the Crazyhouse calendar is to go to the Crazyhouse blog. I'll just put the blog link in the Twitch chat, but it's just zhchess.blogspot.com. And in the right-hand column, you can see the upcoming events in Crazyhouse. You'll see, for example, every Saturday there's an Elite Arena. There are lots of ZH League matches, and the big one you should all look forward to is on Sunday at 6 p.m. UTC, Universal Time, so 7 p.m. European Time, 1 a.m. Eastern Time. International Master Opperwezen is playing against 12teen, who is Jasugi99 on lichess. It'll be an exhibition match. The winner wins $150. Jasugi has a 29-21, I think, lead from the first 50 games, so this will be the second lot of 50 games in this match. You should all watch Mugwort Crazyhouse on Twitch to see that match. I think I will also be streaming it, but Mugwort Crazyhouse, he's a top Crazyhouse player, and you should definitely check him out. And if I do stream it, I'll put that up on my YouTube, and I've just put my YouTube link. And also just check out my YouTube. There are lots of playlists where I actually collect the videos made by others as well in Crazyhouse. So there's a playlist for the league, there's a playlist for 1+0 Crazyhouse, there's a playlist for lots of things. There's a playlist for the World Championship last year, so do enjoy all that. And yeah, if you want to see more studies, then on the blog, check out Index of Studies. It's not completely up to date, but it's got a lot of stuff there. There's lots of practice against computer studies, and then there's the full studies with solutions. So check it out. Hopefully I need to update that sometime with some of the latest stuff I've done. Some of the latest stuff I've done, i.e. this, for example. Some positions which you can try and play with. And that's the practice of computer study for that, and that's the solution study for that. And probably one of the best blogs I've done is this back rank mate study. So you can really train a single theme. The back rank mate, the most basic mating theme in chess or in Crazyhouse, is the back rank mate. I kind of say there are 3 types of back rank mate. all three illustrated in this little GIF, which is quite nice, quite beautiful. How a single position from Katask against Crazyara fish can illustrate all three kinds of back rank mate, and you can practice against a computer and hit a solution. So yeah, this is. And I also recommend the chessvariants.training website for puzzles as well. Okay, so thanks everyone for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this short stream introducing you how to use lichess to create your own studies.